It's literally been the last 2 hours. It's just been
just
rocket ship, like literally a 5,000 point move in the last 2 hours. It's like so random too.
There's a lot of weird volatility. We're live, by the way. There's a lot of weird volatility. I feel like there's just been like a lot of weird volatility in the market.
Yeah, and then the SPYs are just somehow grinding higher. I have no idea how the stock market still goes up. Pushing all-time highs again.
I mean, I think everyone's waiting for that fucking Jerome money printer to start.
Yeah, I think the market's front running that. So if it gets disappointed, then we'll see a drop. But it's just like crazy. It's like you get a huge down day on Friday of like a week before, and then a huge volume, and then just no follow through to the downside. Just like gaps up the next day, goes sideways, and slowly grinds higher. And it's like it's wild.
Yeah, it is wild. It doesn't really make. I keep like people ask me about the market, and my answer is always like it's such a weird market right now. Like I've never, I mean, I've been trading since I was like 14. So what is that now? 13 or 14 years of trading. And I mean, I know I haven't seen every single market that's out there, and I'm pretty young, but this just feels like such a weird market. It's like, the things that go up aren't what you think would go up. Things that go down aren't what you think would go down. And the market's just so choppy. And then you've got like these different news cycles that happen. And then with, basically like you've got the president that can just tweet something and the whole market can crash 20%. Or you've got, the Fed that is like everyone's saying the Fed should be doing one thing, but they're doing the other thing. And they're just very unpredictable. And then you've got like poly market, which people are now using to like predict markets. And then it's actually, I think, having an impact on the way people invest. It's just such a weird time. I mean, it is a really odd market.
Yep. Makes no sense, but I'm not betting against it. Everything's gonna juice.
Yep. 100%. All right. Welcome everybody. We are live. Started with a
Threadcast.
Threadcast is up. Yeah, sorry, I forgot to hit publish on the Threadcast, so it got published a little late, but maybe it left people.
I still don't even. I just did a hard refresh. I still don't see it popping up in the top.
Sometimes they're not popping up at the top. I don't think this one has enough comments yet, though.
Nope. Yeah, there's only one that I see right now. All right, I gotta freaking find. Oh, here we go. Boom, found it.
All right, everyone, if you're listening, drop a few comments so it reaches the top. I didn't post it ahead of time, so
yeah,
that's why.
I mean, it was in like my feed. Like once I scrolled down a little bit, it popped up anyway.
All right, cool.
Good old Surge. Surge stats.
Yep. It's a little hack to get some comments in. It's to call it hot so that it comments back. I see Morty. I see Monk Masters. I see Senior.
Oh, that's right. I should freaking go in my wallet. I haven't looked to see what USDC I've earned from my SLEO. It's been like, I don't even know, probably at least a week and a half since I looked.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. SLEO. So many ways to earn now. So many ways to earn. And as of today, there's a new way to earn. By the way, it's crazy. I just did the Surge stats. I haven't checked them in a while, and I didn't realize $7,300 in yield has been distributed so far. That's crazy.
How much?
$7,300. That seems like a lot.
Can we send that all? Can we send that all to just me?
That's crazy. Yeah, Surge is trading at 80 cents. There's almost 400 holders. I guess if you include the base holders, then you'd have 400 total wallets that hold Surge. But yeah, really interesting. And we don't have a ton of time today. We've got probably like 20 more minutes. So this is going to be a quick AMA / launch party. But feel free to drop questions. I'm gonna just really quickly run through some stuff that LeoStrategy sent me, because the tokenized Tesla launch, and this is the first you're hearing it in terms of what it is. Tokenized Tesla is the next LeoStrategy product, and they have the launch posts, but they said they're going to post them after the AMA, and the AMA is going to be like the pre-party launch. So I'm sure they're watching and listening too, but they've given me a few bullet points that I can share, and then I also can share the links to the tokenized Tesla launch. And if you're in the AMA, you're a loyal lion. You can get first dibs at this launch. So I think that's kind of a cool approach. But yeah, these are live now. So I actually, honestly, I'm mind blown because I didn't know you can do a pre-sale inside of a liquidity pool. So this is the first time I've ever actually seen that, like literally ever. So I had no idea you could do that. And then they basically just gave us the contract address for TTSLA, which is the new product on Base. So they gave us the new contract address, and then we plugged it into LeoDex, and then they said, literally just take this and plug it into LeoDex, and now it'll work. So we did that, and it's literally it was really easy actually. We just like connected everything, and it worked right away. So as of right now, if you go to LeoDex, you can actually see tokenized Tesla on there. So fascinating time. Really to be in the Leo ecosystem, because not only do we have all the LeoDex stuff happening, but you've got LeoStrategy building all these new products. And there's I keep talking about this because I didn't really think about it before, but now it's all starting to kind of make a lot more sense to me that this is a really great convergence of technology. So you've got LeoStrategy building all these financial tools, services, and products separately from the Leo team. And then you've got the Leo team, which is building LeoDex as we're just trying to build the best DEX interface that we can. But because LeoStrategy is also dipping in the world of finance, they have like this really nice synergy. So LeoStrategy's new token is now live. It's called TTSLA. It stands for Tokenized Tesla. It's the first real world asset, or RWA for short. And you can go. I'm just responding to Bradley Arrow. Bradley Arrow, you should do a hard refresh because I think your caching isn't working. So you can just go to LeoDex, and it's also on Hive Engine. But this is the first pre-sale that they're doing that's on Base and Hive Engine at the same time. So it literally just went live like right before the AMA started. And then, like I said, the blog post will get posted at some point today. But they wanted, anyone in the AMA can have first grabs. This is going to be a really limited sale. So they're only doing $100,000 of TTSLA to start. And it's priced at a 20% discount to the fair value of it. So I have a few bullet points. Ahmad Manga, it's... they're not making one. It's already live, so it's already made. It is based on Tesla, so it's essentially synthetic Tesla exposure. And I'll kind of read the docs that they sent me. Just quick, like the quick overviews, because it'll do a much better job of explaining it than I can. But basically, the TLDR is that it's Tesla exposure in a token. And it's collateralized by Leo, held on the LeoStrategy balance sheet. So basically, as the Leo on the balance sheet grows, they can release more tokenized Tesla. They can kind of read the market and see, is there a lot of demand for tokenized Tesla? And over time, if it's trading at a premium, they can expand the market. But the market starts with $100,000 worth of TTSLA, and you can buy it on either one.
So I know that obviously there's the opportunity to earn yield or whatever, but as far as like the price of TTSLA, does that essentially that tracks like, because it's like 1/100th of a Tesla share. So like, does that price essentially track the price of Tesla?
Yeah, good question. So it's 1/100th of a Tesla share. So it trades in lockstep with Tesla, TSLA. And so like right now, for example, Tesla's trading at, what is Tesla at? 400.
It's at 4 and change.
My Windows
It
screwed up.
is. I'll tell you
I
right
think
now.
it's like 440 or something, right?
70 cents.
So 447. So Tesla's trading at $447. That means that TTSLA will trade at $4.47. So it's 1/100th of the price. And so if Tesla moves up, say Tesla goes to $500, tokenized Tesla will go to $5, right? So it's all proportional. It's just on a 1/100th scale, which appeals a lot more to retail. That's essentially why stocks split, is just to appeal to retail. So think about it like almost like a split, but you have the same exposure. It's just 1/100th. And the way it tracks Tesla's price is what I think to be the most unique synthetic asset. Sorry, 1 second. You guys are saying you're having issues with LeoDex, but it's working fine for me.
I actually got the same.
Try doing a hard refresh.
I just tried just now just to see if I was having the same issues as them. Let me see. I'm testing now on a different browser. Oh, I've tried on 2 different browsers and I'm getting that same application error that they're getting.
It's really interesting.
I tried
on fine for me.
2 different browser types just now.
I'm literally looking right at it.
It's because you got the owner access.
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to I just checked because everyone else was saying it. So yeah, I got that same error that Bradley posted. And I got it on 2 different.
All right. Well, that'll be fixed in a minute. I think we need to clear the cache because that kind of ties into the LeoDex updates. But we did some upgrades to all the infrastructure for InLeo and LeoDex. So I think what happened is everyone's got the old version cached, but we can do a hard reset at the server level and fix that. So anyways, that'll get fixed. Don't worry about that. It is live on Hive Engine and LeoDex at the same time. So don't worry. In a few minutes, you can refresh LeoDex.
Oh, interesting. So you can find TSLA on Hive Engine as well?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, go to here. I'm just going to drop links. Cool. Obviously, I'll wait to drop the LeoDex link until it's working. I just dropped the Tribal Dex link. So there's...
look at that.
You can find TTSLA there.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it on Hive Engine as well.
Yeah. I like the logo too. Let me share the logo. I think the logo is pretty sick. I hope that's not it.
So yeah, it is trading at a discount. I see the ask is 25 Hive, which is like what?
Right.
Like 350 basically.
Yeah. So the pre-sale is here. Let me pull up this doc so I don't say anything. So the pre-sale is priced at $3.55, which is a 20% discount to where tokenized Tesla should be trading based on the Tesla price. So Tesla's trading at, what did we say, like 450 or something?
475.
Is it 475?
Oh no, I'm sorry, 447, right? Was it?
447. Okay. Yeah. So the fair value of TTSLA is $4.45 ish right now. And the initial issuance is 28,420 tokenized Tesla shares, which is about $100,000. The launch price is $3.55. The max supply is 10 billion tokenized Teslas. So obviously this is like a limited launch, and then they can expand the market over, over the next 10, 15, 25 years, right? And they did put this in the doc I'm reading that, tokenized Tesla is not meant to be around for like a year. It's meant to be around for 100 years. So it's like, start the market small and scale it up slowly over the next, decade plus that's to come. So I'm very excited for that model. On
Hive Engine, obviously it's, priced in Hive. So that number is going to fluctuate as the price of Hive fluctuates.
And I do think that they're going to adjust they didn't adjust the surge pre-sale, and I do think this one will get adjusted, but I also don't think it's going to last very long, so I don't think they're going to have to adjust it very much. But it's probably going to get adjusted to the current USD price and the reason why this one will get adjusted and the other one didn't, like the surge one didn't, because surge was only the pre-sale was only on Hive Engine, but this pre-sale is on Base at the same time. So it needs to kind of trade similarly in terms of USD, because the pre-sale on Base is priced in dollars, not anything else.
Nice. I was just going to ask, so when you go on LeoDex, I mean, obviously, I guess it's priced against whatever you're going to purchase it in, but at the end of the day, to see the true pricing, you can just put it up against like stablecoin and see what it is in US dollars.
Yeah, it is priced in the pool itself is USDC, but technically you can swap any crypto. Like you can swap Bitcoin directly in there, and it'll just everything happens on the back end for you. But it is at the end of the day priced in USDC.
It's an interesting question by Senor Coconut. If the underlying asset normally pays a dividend, does the RWA also pay a dividend? Well, I guess it doesn't even need to pay a dividend because the TTSLA is paying a dividend even though Tesla doesn't pay a dividend.
Yeah, so this is where we get into kind of the interesting part of how this works. So let me look at this, some of these bullet points. So that's a good question from Senor Coconut. So if it pays a dividend, and Mitch kind of answered it too, it actually doesn't really matter if the underlying pays a dividend or not. The way that LeoStrategy has designed these synthetics, and what these are is they're calling them RWAs because that's kind of like the buzz term for them. But what they actually are is a synthetic instrument that is intended to trade similar to the underlying. So in this case, it's Tesla, but it's not a hard peg. So the way that this works is actually, I think, very interesting. And like I said, they're going to release their own docs and it'll go into all the details. But I'll kind of give like this quick overview that I've got here. But the way it works is essentially there's a yield attached to each synthetic asset. So for Tesla, for example, there is no dividend for Tesla stock. But tokenized Tesla has a yield. That yield is actually a rate policy, which is intended to give it the peg to Tesla shares in terms of price. So there are no underlying Tesla shares that back tokenized Tesla, and the exposure to TSLA is governed by rate policy, which is very similar to like how central banks, for example, set rate policy in order to govern inflation. So they either do quantitative easing or they do quantitative tightening, depending on how the market is. So when they want the market to do something different than it's doing right now, they'll either ease or tighten. So the way that LeoStrategy designed these, I think, is really fascinating because they're essentially taking that same model of easing and tightening, and they're applying it to synthetic assets. So basically what happens is tokenized Tesla has a baseline 3% yield. So if tokenized Tesla is trading at par with TSLA, it pays a 3% yield. If tokenized Tesla starts to depeg to the downside, they will hike rates. And this is all programmatic on the blockchain. So it's not like you have, for example, a guy that goes on stage and says, we're going to lower rates or we're going to raise rates and does it willy-nilly. This is all programmed on chain and predictable, which I think gives it actually an even harder peg to the Tesla price because since everybody knows what the yield is going to be, then they will predict that rate. And if the rate changes, they will be able to front run other traders and actually profit from the rate change. So because it's predictable and on chain, I think it actually will make it a pretty hard peg. But obviously we'll have to see. Like I said, I don't think anybody has done anything even remotely like this in the entire world of crypto. It's like a fascinating rate model. But so back to what I was saying. So the baseline is 3%. So let's say tokenized Tesla depegs the downside by, say, 5%. Let's say it's trading 5% below where it should be relative to the Tesla underlying price. The rate policy will increase the interest rate of 3% to, I'm going to make this up because I don't have the real figures in front of me, but I know that that's coming in their docs. But let's say it depegs by 5% to the downside. The interest rate of 3% will increase to say 6%, right? And I'm just using round made up numbers, except for the 3% is actually a real number. So it'll go from 3% to 6%, which means that it should increase demand for tokenized Tesla, and it should regain its peg. So say the Tesla peg is here, tokenized Tesla is here, the interest rate increases to try to bring tokenized Tesla back up to where TSLA is. And then once it reaches that, the next rate policy will either drop the rate back down to 3%, or it'll keep the rate high depending on where tokenized Tesla is trading. So TTSLA pays a daily dividend. So Surge pays a weekly yield, right? TTSLA pays a daily yield of 3% if it's trading at par with TSLA.
Wait, hold on, stop. Make sure you're phrasing. I want to make sure this is being phrased correct. You say so it's paying out the yield daily. Okay, right. But the yield per year is what? Like it's not paying 3% daily. It's paying out daily on the 3% APR.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's 3% APR paid.
I just want to make sure because it sounds like 3% daily. If that's the case, I'm literally loading up.
Yeah.
and waiting for it to blow up because 3% daily isn't even sustainable. So
yeah,
with that said, so that's interesting because so really in order for the price to essentially kind of be on par with Tesla, let's say, it's really driven by adjusting the yield and then the market forces kind of getting it back to par as opposed to just like being repriced, so to speak. Like there's no like NAV, it's essentially being repriced on, it sounds like. Because like, you know, how Tesla moves, right? Like, you know, it'll go sideways for, you know, whatever, let's say a few weeks. And all of a sudden when it goes. And it's just like, it'll rip 100 points in like, you know, 5 trading days. Right. So like if that happens, right, you know, either up or down, right? If it goes down, then the yield is going to skyrocket. If it goes up, then the yield would whatever. The yield's going to go up and down depending on whether the price goes up or down. I forget which way. But anyway, my point about this is that it sounds like there's opportunity to earn potentially like even more yield during a divergence in price because like, let's say, like I said, Tesla rips 100 points over the course of just like a handful of trading days. Depending on how much trading volume there is for TTSLA, like it could take a while for that thing to converge back to, you know, parity. And therefore you could be, you know, chilling in an advantageous position yield wise for a while and vice versa if it goes the wrong direction. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, okay. So let's get into some of the details of that.
Well,
so the rate is paid
before you do that, like, because basically, you know, it is obviously a synthetic way to play Tesla, but it's also just as much of a yield play as it is a speculation because obviously it's going to, you know, have parity with Tesla, you know, I'm sure plenty often, but there'll be periods when it's not, as opposed to like just using it as like almost like a derivative where it's like, all right, I can't afford to buy, you know, a lot of $445 shares, but I can buy a bunch of this TTSLA. And if Tesla goes, whatever, 100 points, and this thing moves a buck, and, you know, you can, you know, essentially quote unquote trade it. But since essentially it doesn't move with it like tick for tick, so to speak, you have a lagging.
Well, you could have a lagging, or you could have a lagging, or you could have a leading.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not fixed either way.
No, it's super interesting.
So it's going to be interesting to see because, like I said, I don't think anybody. I mean, I was looking around for anybody that has anything similar to this in terms of synthetic derivatives.
Nothing that's launched, but there is definitely some. It's in the works. Like you guys, like LeoStrategy is first to market because
I think
it's
so.
definitely in the works with some bigger name players from
things. Larry Fink of BlackRock just did a CNBC interview a couple days ago or like last week and said the world is going to be tokenized. Yep. Every asset's going to be on the blockchain.
Yeah, and they're working
and stocks
towards,
are going to trade 24/7, 365.
Yeah, they're working towards obviously being a piece of that because why not? You're talking about big money,
right? And I think that their tokenization would look a lot different than LeoStrategy's. So what I think is, and this kind of leads right back into where I was. So the interest is paid daily, right? So the yield is paid daily, but the yield policy is adjusted weekly. So like if you're familiar with like the Fed, like they meet every other month, and they can set rates, they can change things. They have a very rigid system. It's usually lagging way behind. LeoStrategy's rate policy will adjust every single week programmatically. So you already know what the rate's going to be next week. And you're getting the current week's rate today. So basically when the rate meeting happens, which is every Monday, the rate for the week is set. And then the price of TTSLA trades wherever it trades. And then the next week, the rate is adjusted to wherever TTSLA is trading relative to Tesla. So for example, like in my example, you've got Tesla trading here, TTSLA is lagging behind, so the interest rate gets adjusted upwards. So it goes from 3% to 6%. The goal there is to drive demand into TTSLA and bring it back to where Tesla is. And then let's say that the next week, Tesla rips, like you said, and TTSLA kind of lags behind. Well, depending on how much is lagging behind, the interest rate may be 3%, it may be 6%, it may be 9%, or it may even be 20%. Whatever basically the amount that it's lagging behind is the amount that the interest rate is increased. And it's meant to juice demand to bring TTSLA back into par. And since everybody knows what since everybody knows what yield it's going to be next week based on the price, people will actually front run the interest rate adjustment, which will actually serve as kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if everybody knows the interest rate is going to jump because of the price, then a lot of people are going to file in as soon as they can, which will actually bring the price closer to where it should be, which will then make the interest rate adjustment less than it needs to be. So I hope I explained that well. It's like really hard to like verbally explain it. I feel like the doc does a much better job, but the kind of most
go ahead. Read the doc.
Yeah, RTFD. The most simple example or the most simple explanation I can give is that TTSLA is synthetic exposure to Tesla based on rate policy, not based on redemptions or minting. So most, like, for example, Tether is a stable coin. It works on a mint redeem function, right? So you basically deposit $1,000 from a bank account, and then they give you 1,000 USDT. Then Tether's job is to hold on to your $1,000 until you're ready to unwrap back from USDT into USD. That's not how tokenized Tesla works. Tokenized Tesla has a rate policy that is predefined in order to maintain a peg to Tesla. And if the peg changes, the interest rate increases so that it can maintain that peg. So it's essentially a policy. It's a policy-based peg instead of a hard, money collateral-based peg, which I think is like a really fascinating design. Like it's like I said, I don't think I've seen anywhere where anything even remotely like this has been done. So it's going to be something that we kind of all learn in real time.
Nice.
I see LeoDex is working for you guys. Yeah, we cleared the cache, so it should fix things. Now that you can see LeoDex, let me drop you the link to Tokenized Tesla on there, because I think it's really fascinating the way this pre-sale is. So I didn't know that this was possible, but you can do pre-sales inside of liquidity pools by using concentrated liquidity pool ticks. So without getting too much into the mechanics of that, LeoStrategy has released 50% of the pre-sale on Hive Engine, and the other 50% is on Base. And both are live as of right now. So you can actually go buy Tokenized Tesla from LeoDex directly, and it uses Rango and Relay as the protocol routes.
Nice.
and you can literally buy it with Bitcoin, USDC, whatever you want, and then you'll buy tokenized Tesla directly on Base. And if you don't want to do that, you can buy it on Tribal Dex.
And does that, I mean, also, if you buy it on LeoDex, I'm assuming that adds to total volume on LeoDex.
It does. Yep. Every trade goes through LeoDex.
So it looks like Monk Masters was the first purchaser of TTSLA on Hive Engine, followed by Jeff-001. A couple of people already diving in. Maybe they're Tesla fanboys.
Yeah, I'm a Tesla fanboy. I mean, I'm going to jump in after we get off of this, but
yeah, if I do anything,
I'll probably buy some on both Base and Hive Engine.
If I do anything, it'll be through LeoDex because I have 0 liquid Hive. I have enough Hive.
Well, that's one thing.
Yeah.
I think one of the very limiting things about like the Surge presale, for example, for LeoStrategy was, to get capital in, you had to move it through Hive Engine, which is not easy to do, and it's actually pretty costly. So people calculate that cost, and I think it made the presale take a lot longer in terms of selling out. But now you can literally you got Bitcoin, you got stable coins, you can trade everything you want directly with TTSLA on LeoDex.
100% think that made a difference because I personally would have probably bought more Surge, especially towards the end of the presale, knowing there was an opportunity to basically kind of capture a profit, so to speak. But I had no desire to move stablecoin into Hive, onto Hive Engine or whatever, Tribal Dex. And then, like you said, it's the cost of doing those transactions you got to factor in. And then I'm like looking at the amount I'm going to do. I'm like, this isn't yeah, I'll make some money, but it's just not even worth the effort, so to speak. So yeah, being able to buy on LeoDex is definitely huge.
Yeah, I think it's massive.
And also, it opens up the product to a larger audience, right? People that larger. It's like users that might use LeoDex that aren't even familiar with Hive are like, now they got to figure out how to it's like, no, they're not going to do it. So bigger audience too, which is good because now you have you're talking about an asset that has a worldwide audience as well, like in terms of, the synthetic asset that it is. But
it has a much larger audience. And one thing that I think is, so the market makers have been extremely profitable already.
So wait, hold up.
Which is
because there's so much info you can probably continue to share on this, which you are welcome to, but I got to go. It's a little bit after 1. I got an appointment. I got a boogie. So we'll see you on the next one. But yeah, this is pretty cool and probably the beginning of a larger offering, I'm thinking, when you look back a couple of years later.
Yeah, I agree. I think it'll be huge. Thanks for coming,
yeah,
Mitch.
absolutely.
I will.
Pretty cool.
I will keep talking to the people for a few more
minutes. Drop the knowledges. All the knowledges.
Yep.
All right. I'll see you guys later.
All right. Thanks, Mitch. See ya. All right. You guys just have me for a few minutes now. Yeah, shout out to Mitch. I know he was on a tight timeline and we started kind of late too. But I will, in these last few minutes, go, I'll just kind of rant on what I've been given in terms of sharing stuff about this. And then, like I said, after we jump off of here, they're kind of giving you guys like the first taste since you're loyal and come to all the AMAs. After we jump off of this, there's going to be, all the normal blog posts, announcements, X posts, etc. But this really opens up what we were kind of talking about with Mitch. This really opens up a much broader audience, in my opinion, for I don't know if that camera angle is good, but it opens up a much better audience, much wider audience for LeoStrategy. And I think it's going to be fascinating to see, can they start attracting, a much wider trading audience. One thing that Mitch was kind of getting into right before he jumped off is tokenized Tesla has a underlying, which is Tesla, that trades completely uncorrelated to the rest of, obviously it's uncorrelated to crypto and it's completely uncorrelated to Leo, right? So this is kind of the first time that LeoStrategy is releasing something that has no correlation to any other assets in the stack. So the stack is Surge, LSTR, and Leo. And now TTSLA is added to that stack. The other three assets are all kind of lockstep trading within similar bounds, right? Like they're all Leo related at the end of the day. But with TTSLA, it has an underlying that is completely unrelated, not only to Leo, but to the entire crypto industry in general. What I think this is going to do is, LeoStrategy's primary revenue driver is the market making. What I think is going to happen is because TTSLA has a completely uncorrelated underlying, it's actually going to open up to a lot more market making opportunities, especially when there might be a lull in market making on the other assets in the stack. So like if Leo is kind of, the volatility is not high, if Surge's volatility isn't high, if LSTR's volatility isn't high, that doesn't mean that Tesla's volatility isn't high, right? Like Tesla has a completely different volatility profile. So that means that there might be opportunities to market make tokenized Tesla, even though there might not be any opportunities for Leo, LSTR, and Surge at that specific minute. So it opens up a completely different market. And then there's also long tail effects of that, which I've started to kind of wrap my head around, which is that if you have uncorrelated assets in the stack, they actually bring their volatility into the stack for the rest of the assets. So what does that mean? It means that there's going to be a pool for tokenized Tesla on Hive Engine, very similar to how there is for Surge and LSTR. So there's going to be a TTSLA Leo pool, and then there's going to be there already is a TTSLA USDC pool on Base. So that actually means that when TTSLA trades on Base, that volatility crosses over to TTSLA on Hive Engine, which is paired with Leo, which means that if there's 100, like let's say there's $1,000 in volume on TTSLA on Base, that $1,000 in volume changes the price relative to TTSLA on Hive Engine. So what that means is it's actually bringing volatility, external volatility into the stack. It's injecting volatility across the whole stack, which will then create market making opportunities on the rest of the stack. So everything is very vertically integrated. And I think that that's where things get really fascinating is like, well, if you can build out, 5, 10, 15, 100 assets over the next 10, 15 years, and each asset has different volatility profiles, but they're all stacked together, then you're creating volatility for the whole stack, which means that all the assets inside of that stack can be market made, profited on, and then more Leo gets bought, which then actually brings even more volatility because you've got continuous buying pressure. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. It's like, not only do we have a completely new synthetic type of asset, but we also have, an incredibly unique design in terms of the cross-chain market making, the bridges, et cetera. And then also combining it all with the fact that, Leo has Leo Dex. It's like a new, I don't think there's anybody doing anything like it. It's completely new on every side of the spectrum, in my opinion. And again, TTSLA is not Tesla stock, right? It is synthetic. It is a synthetic token that has literally no tie to Tesla other than the fact that the rate policy is basically, look at it like this. You have an oracle, right, that is reading the Tesla price. And every week, based on the Tesla price versus the tokenized Tesla price, it is adjusting the interest rate. So there's no Tesla backing this. There is no actual tie to Tesla other than the fact that the rate of tokenized Tesla gets adjusted based on the price of Tesla. So that's how you create a synthetic asset that has an underlying, which is Tesla, and trades with that underlying without actually holding any actual Tesla. And the reason why that's important, there's a couple of reasons why that's important, but one of the big reasons for LeoStrategy is that their whole mission is they only own Leo. So the only thing that they want to buy and own is Leo on the balance sheet. So with tokenized Tesla, it's backed by Leo on the balance sheet. It's not backed by Tesla shares. So they don't have to go out and buy Tesla shares, which also, by the way, opens this up to being like, then it's not a synthetic asset. Then it's like it's almost like a collateralized asset on the original, stock of Tesla, which this is not that, right? It's an over collateralized asset that is collateralized by Leo, which is completely unrelated to Tesla, but the rate policy is adjusted based on the price of Tesla. So I know this is kind of a lot to digest. I'm probably not. I didn't really have a good structure for this. I didn't know that they were going to launch it, right now. So I was just given a little bit of stuff to talk about, but yeah, I'm kind of reading a lot of this as you are reading it as well. So yeah, feel free to drop questions. I'll do my best to answer them, but I think seeing the docs that they have it's gonna explain everything far better than I can. Dash Note asked, is TTSLA going to be on any L2 chain or is it Hive only? So this is the first pre-sale that LeoStrategy has done where it's live on Base immediately. So it's already live on Base. So half the pre-sale is on Hive Engine and the other half is on Base already. So if you've got USDC or Ethereum or Bitcoin, you can actually go buy tokenized Tesla directly on the Base blockchain. And you can do it straight through LeoDex. So yeah, feel free to drop any other questions you've got. I'll do my best. Senor Coconut, all right, we'll see you later. Yeah, you'll definitely be able to listen to the recording. Taskmaster bought himself some TTSLA as a test. Glad to see it. Yeah, Monk Masters. Yeah, it's not collateralized by Tesla. It's collateralized by Leo, which I think is fascinating because as Leo grows in USD value and LeoStrategy's Leo holdings grow, that just makes TTSLA even more over collateralized. And by the way, part of the important part of this policy is you have a liquidation preference on TTSLA at the current 1/100th Tesla price, right? So, for example, let's say that in the nuclear event of LeoStrategy being liquidated, the whole fund being liquidated, if Tesla's trading at $500, every TTSLA shareholder or token holder is getting $5 because TTSLA should be worth $5 minimum. So they are getting $5 at the liquidation preference. So very similar to Surge, like Surge has a $1 liquidation preference. TTSLA has a liquidation preference that is 1/100th of whatever Tesla is at that time. So you have this liquidation preference, which governs the minimum value of TTSLA, but then the rate policy is what actually governs the peg of TTSLA's market price relative to TSLA's market price. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this works in the real world. I can't emphasize enough that I have not seen anybody do anything like this. So I don't have a good example to use to really explain how this works. I think the best example to use is like how the Fed governs interest rate policy. Other than that, I don't really know a better way to explain it. And I think it's just something we're going to have to learn over time. Yeah, feel free to keep the questions coming. But yeah, we're kind of all, I keep kind of stressing, but we're kind of all learning, all of this at the same time. So I think this is a learning process, and LeoStrategy is continuing to be strategic about scaling up, and that's going to require kind of a learning curve for all of us. And I think that's kind of fun. So I'm trying to buy $10 worth of TTSLA right now on LeoDex to see how it works. Oh yeah, I did. Look at that. I just bought $10 worth of TTSLA on LeoDex. It's pretty awesome the way they've done all of this. I'm just like, I can't even believe that this is possible, to be honest with you. I had no idea you could do. I had no idea you could fix the price of something, like set the price of something in a pre-sale and launch it on a liquidity pool. I thought, like, it didn't cross my mind, but it's pretty fascinating. So you can see, I'm sharing a screenshot. I'll drop the link to Dex Scanner too, or Dex Screener. I'm sharing a screenshot of the tokenized Tesla page on Dex Screener, and you can already see there's $50,000 of liquidity. You can see the current price of TTSLA, and you can see any buys that happen directly in that pool. So I just did a $10 buy, and you can already see it in there. That's pretty awesome that you can see that. That's pretty awesome. Let me jump back to the Threadcast now that I've done that. Ahmad Manga, it's not holding Tesla. No, it's not holding any TSLA. This is a synthetic asset that is designed to, it has an oracle that reads the price of TSLA, and it has a adjustable rate policy to maintain the TSLA peg. So you're saying that means the whole sum of TTSLA should be less in USD than the Leo it holds. Yeah, any collateralized assets that LeoStrategy releases need to be worth less than the Leo held, because that is the collateral that backs them, right? So if there's 100,000 TTSLA, then there needs to be at least $100,000 worth of Leo collateralizing that TTSLA. And that's how you get the liquidation preference, by the way, which I was just describing. So, if in the nuclear event, unlikely scenario that LeoStrategy is liquidated, TTSLA holders all know that they're going to get the value of 1/100th Tesla in terms of the liquidation preference. Taskmaster said it's no different than options. Options are not the stock, but give you exposure to the price move. Yeah, it's like those are all derivatives, right? Like this is synthetic exposure. It technically can trade at any price. It doesn't have. It can trade way above the price of Tesla, or it can trade significantly below the price of Tesla. But what will happen is if it trades below the price of Tesla, the yield will be extremely high. Like it can go to 20%, for example, which means that the desire to buy something that has a liquidation preference that is higher than the current price and pays a yield that's very high is going to increase all the demand and then drive more buyers, which then will eventually allow it to retake the peg. It is a market-driven rate policy peg, so I think it's going to be fascinating to see. Ahmad Manga. Well, yeah, the scenario you are saying is the scenario of anything. I mean, what happens if a bank holds a bunch of deposits, fractional reserve deposits, and then there's a bank run? Well, that bank goes bankrupt. So where the term bankrupt comes from. So this is not fractional reserve, though. This is over collateralization. So the Leo on the LeoStrategy balance sheet needs to always be over collateralizing the RWAs. So there's only $100,000 worth of Tesla, but there's like $700,000 worth of Leo in LeoStrategy, and that is only growing. And then all the entire $100,000 that is raised by LeoStrategy is buying even more Leo. So you are, I think, like 3 times over collateralized, something like that. And that over collateralization ratio will increase over time. Manga, no, I don't think so. I disagree with you. So Leo, and you look at you're kind of outlining the same exact argument that people have against MicroStrategy, which is, well, what happens when Bitcoin drops in price? Well, there is no hard obligation to pay any debt. So if Bitcoin goes to $1,000, MicroStrategy, yeah, they've released all these preferred stocks. The only debt obligation they actually have is the dividends. So very similar for LeoStrategy. The only actual obligation they have is the yield. So as long as they have enough capital to pay the yield, there is no insolvency. So there is no potential to call back shares. And I think that that's a really important part of understanding all of this. Whether you look at MicroStrategy or you look at LeoStrategy, is that you look at the actual obligations. Can anybody, because what you're describing is nothing different than a margin call. There is no margin call for LeoStrategy. You can't call back the shares. So even if Leo drops significantly in price, well, LeoStrategy can then just buy more Leo and continue to over collateralize, so that when it does eventually rise in price, everything becomes over collateralized even more. So yeah, you do need to be careful, and you need to strategically scale. That's why I think it's really important that LeoStrategy didn't release $1 million worth of tokenized Tesla. There's only $100,000 worth of it. And they're releasing $100,000 worth of it. Simultaneously, they're using the $100,000 to buy Leo, and they've already owned, what, $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 worth of Leo. So that just continues to over collateralize the stack. And then as Leo grows, it just continues to increase that ratio. Monk Masters, what currency is the yield paid in again? It is, I believe it's HBD if you're on Hive Engine. I think it's the same as Surge. So it's HBD if you're on Hive Engine, and it's USDC if you're on Base. And then you will be able to choose to auto reinvest into TTSLA, so you can auto compound, or you can do I think LSTR. I could be wrong about that. That's just a guess. Ahmad Manga, yeah, I think all these things are pretty well outlined by LeoStrategy. I mean, you have to keep in mind we're just doing like a pre-launch video. I'm just reading the bullet points I've been given and then answering your questions. So wait until you see the docs, and then if you want to critique the docs, I would recommend doing that on their blog posts. But I'm limited to what I have, which is just the launch announcement. But that being said, I find the way that they're scaling this up to be very safe. I mean, they could be a lot more risky. For example, I thought the TTSLA launch was going to be more like 250,000 plus, but it's only 100,000. So I think that they're actually doing it in a very safe manner, if you ask me personally. I tend to be far out on the risk curve, though. So probably better that LeoStrategy is more on the safe side of the risk curve as compared to me. But that's why I don't do stuff like this. That's why I build technology. Taskmaster's buying more TTSLA. Nice. Yeah, I'm going to buy more once I jump off of here. I bought a little bit on LeoDex. Just test it out and stuff, but it's kind of hard to do when I'm live. I've got the mic in my face, and I've got all the screens open for the Threadcast. But yeah, I will be buying as well. What I think is really cool is this is a really small, limited pre-sale, right? So it's super limited. I think it's going to get sold out really fast. It's going to be much different than Surge, which took like 6 weeks or so, and it was like $400,000. This is $100,000, and it's structured much differently. And then it's also 50% on Base, 50% on Hive Engine. I'm actually really curious to see which one sells out first. I don't know. What do you guys, drop it in the Threadcast? What do you think will sell out first, Hive Engine or Base? I'm curious to see what you guys think. Bradley Arrow, LeoDex, yeah. What currency? We did that. So yeah, it's going to be HBD on Hive or USDC on Base, and then you'll be able to set a preference if you want to auto compound or if you want to get LSTR, I believe you can do. Also, I didn't really mention, but there's a TTSLA bridge. I don't think the bridge will go live until after the pre-sale is over. I could be wrong on that. I don't actually know. But I would just logically imagine that would be how it proceeds. And the bridge will allow you to go from TTSLA on Hive Engine to TTSLA. Say TTSLA 100 times really fast. It's pretty tough. I'm just gonna start calling it Tokenized Tesla. To bridge, you'll be able to bridge between Hive Engine and Base using Tokenized Tesla. So CFL Closers is saying it's going to be Hive Engine that sells out first because a lot of people don't know how to use Base. We have to remember a lot of Hive and Leo people don't know how to use Base. The rest of the world knows how to use Base and doesn't know how to use Hive Engine. It's the reverse. Like everyone here knows how to use Hive Engine. That's because we're all on it. But the rest of the world looks at Base and they're like, oh, this is easy. I can just plug in USDC and get TTSLA. I don't have to think about how much easier it is on Base. You can. So I guess I'm kind of giving away my answer is I think Base is going to sell out first, but that's just my perspective. Because on Hive Engine, you have to, even if you're a Hiver, you have to deposit Hive to your Hive wallet from wherever you get Hive from. So that this is assuming that you already have Hive. Don't even, if you have some other asset, it makes it 10 times harder. Assuming you already have Hive, you then have to take your Hive, you have to deposit it to Hive Engine using some deposit service like bswap. You have to deposit it and get swap.hive. Then you have to trade the swap.hive into tokenized Tesla. So you actually have to deposit first, then buy, which means that you not only have a barrier to entry, you also have to pay a fee because there's like a 0.75% fee on any deposits. On Base, if you have Bitcoin, if you have Ethereum, if you have USDC, if you have Litecoin, you can literally just go in and put in whatever you have and put out tokenized Tesla and hit swap. Done. Now you have it. No depositing, nothing. It's all decentralized. It's all on DEXs. It's all through Rango Relay, Uniswap. There's no barrier to entry, in my opinion. So I actually think the Base sale is significantly easier. I know that the target market is much more concentrated on Hive right now, but part of LeoStrategy's plan is not to just be on Hive; it's to expand to the broader market. So yeah, for normie, I'm on Manga. For normies, Base is way easier. Yeah, I mean, I've talked to some people who have like Base wallets on their phone that are like total normies, by the way, and they have like the Base app on their phone. They can literally buy tokenized Tesla now from that Base app. It's literally that easy. So yeah, this opens up the market to way more people. It's not even close in my opinion. But the interesting thing to see is that the existing user base is all on Hive Engine. So, and a lot of us already have capital on Hive Engine. So, for us, that makes it easier to buy on Hive Engine. But for everybody else, it's easier to buy on Base. So we'll see. Taskmaster said there was a ton of Tesla data added to the Leo database. When Rafiki goes live, we'll be capable of really providing insight into Tesla and perhaps offer recommendations. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Rafiki does with all of that. So Rafiki is getting trained on all Leo Hive blockchain data. I see some of you guys are already in tokenized Teslas, already 1,600 in volume on Hive Engine. I still see that I'm the only one who's bought on Base. Wananda said, so the yield will be USDC on Base and HBD on Hive. Yeah. So if you're holding TTSLA on Base, your dividends will be USDC or your yield will be USDC. If you're on Hive Engine, it'll be HBD. And then you'll be able to set a preference if you want to like auto compound tokenized Tesla, then you can choose tokenized Tesla, and then that's what you'll receive instead of stablecoin. And I'll kind of leave you guys with this because I think their blog post is going to do much better than I can of explaining all this stuff because like I said, I only have the bullet points that are in front of me. But one thing I'm very fascinated to see, I mean, I guess I'm very curious to see a lot of things. But one of the things that I think is most interesting is the like high level of all of this is like where are we headed, right? Like where are we going? I tend to try to zoom out, like where do we go 10 years from now? Like what is happening here? Leo Dex is building the best DEX that we can build, right? We're building a DEX that is essentially an aggregator of other DEXs. Like Leo Dex just is an interface to all the other DEXs, right? What LeoStrategy is building is essentially a launch pad where they can build out assets and derivatives that have very different risk profiles and different rewards. And by doing that, they're actually giving the entire Leo ecosystem a bunch of different products to have different exposure to different assets so that you can actually go and build a portfolio. So when I zoom out and think 10 years from now, I'm thinking, every Leo person here, every Lion here, every, person that joins our ecosystem in the next 10 years to come is going to have a portfolio of assets. And that portfolio of assets is going to be all sorts of things. It might be, You might have some tokenized Tesla, you might have some Surge, you might have some LSTR, you might have some Leo, you might have whatever tokenized commodities might come next, tokenized stocks that might come next. You might have 10 different assets in your portfolio. All these assets are backed by Leo. They all pay you a yield, and you can build out that portfolio exposure however you want. It's maximum user optionality is what I think is happening. So I believe that this is, we're at the very early stages of what I think is an explosion in abundance for all Leo holders. So even if you're sitting here and you don't want to touch any of these assets, you just hold Leo, you are at an explosion of optionality where Leo is going to continue to rise in price. There's a limited supply and there's continuously growing demand. So if TTSLA sells out in the next couple days, which I kind of expect it, I don't expect this to last more than 7 days, to be completely honest with you. So if it sells out in the next couple days, $100,000 in buy pressure then hits the market to buy Leo, which sends the Leo price higher over the coming days because they're buying continuously, right? Like it's not like they wait till the presale ends to buy. Like they're going to be buying, they're probably buying right now while I'm saying this. So, and by the way, they just announced the TWAP order, which I don't even know. I could be sitting here talking for hours with all the things that are happening, especially even with just LeoStrategy. But then we have all the Leo deck stuff that is where I'm spending all my time. So what they're doing at a high level is every Leo holder is getting the option and the optionality to build a portfolio of assets that all have different exposure and all pay yield. And I find that to be very interesting. I know Mitch does as well, that we are like yield junkies. Like we want to get yield, but we still want to have exposure to the assets we love. Tesla is my number one stock holding. I plan to actually slowly sell a little bit of Tesla shares on the stock market and buy tokenized Tesla. So I'm going to move a little bit of my portfolio from TradFi into tokenized Tesla. And I was kind of thinking when I was reading through all this, why would someone like me who owns Tesla on the stock market want to own some tokenized Tesla? And there's a few reasons, but I think that the ones that jump right out at you are that it pays yield. So like you can hold, I would say there's like three big reasons for me, and not getting into like all the Leo bias. Like I obviously want to own some because I think it supports Leo and makes Leo stronger. But without getting those points, there's three other points. One of them is yield. So if you own Tesla on the stock market, you get no yield. There's no dividend, right? If you own tokenized Tesla, you get at least 3%. If the price diverges to the downside, the yield increases. So you could get as high as 20% yield for holding tokenized Tesla. If you so you've got the yield component. The second component is the DeFi composability. So tokenized Tesla can be used in all of DeFi. You can pool it and you can use it in DeFi contracts. You obviously can't do that with Tesla stock. The third thing is, so you've got the yield, you've got the DeFi composability. And then the third thing I think is going to come from LeoStrategy, which is they plan to release a lending contract where you can take out loans against your Leo, collateralized loans, and get USD, some stable coin, right? So you get some stable coin and you deposit SLEO collateral. They have said they plan to do this for all the real world assets they release. So for example, you own some tokenized Tesla. Let's say you own $10,000 worth of tokenized Tesla. You'll be able to deposit it as collateral and take out a loan against it from LeoStrategy. So that creates a much more well-rounded economy around tokenized Tesla and all the assets from LeoStrategy, where you have a lot of optionality, you have a lot of things you can do. If you hold Tesla on the stock market, you can't take loans against it unless you're ultra wealthy. So one thing I'm fascinated by, again, zooming out, is the entire mission of Leo is to democratize financial knowledge and access. Tokenized Tesla is perfectly on that roadmap of democratization, which is, it's a democratizing access part that tokenized Tesla solves, which is if you're ultra wealthy and you're on the stock market and you own Tesla, you can take out a portfolio loan against your Tesla shares and get a loan, a collateralized loan. But if you're a retail investor like me or like many of you, if you want to take out a loan against your Tesla shares, they're going to laugh you out of the door. They're not going to give you a loan on your Tesla shares because you're too small. But you can go to LeoStrategy and hold as little as maybe $100 worth of tokenized Tesla, and you can take out a loan against it. And it's all on the blockchain. It's all immediate. There's no application. You don't have to fill anything out. You just go to LeoStrategy's future application for lending. You enter how much tokenized Tesla you want to deposit, and it tells you how much USD you can take out, and you hit enter, and it just happens. And when you want your tokenized Tesla shares back, you go in and you pay USDC or USDL or whatever, and then you get your tokenized Tesla back. So it is fascinating. I think we're just at the very beginning of many of these things, and we'll kind of see how they play out from here. And like I said, I know I didn't I've shared probably 1% of the details of how this all works. I'll let their blog posts do all the talking because I can only give my perspective and I can only give you what I know about it. But they did want to say anyone in the AMA gets first taste. So I know a lot of you guys have already bought a little bit, which is awesome to see. And once the blog post goes live, take some time, dive into the details of how it works. But essentially, the high level of it is it's exposure to Tesla long term. It pays a yield. The pre-sale is priced at a 20% discount to the fair value. The liquidation preference is the fair value of 1/100th of Tesla, which is, so for example, if Tesla's at $450, tokenized Tesla is worth no less than $4.50. And you can use it in DeFi, so you can pool it and earn yield like you can with Leo, LSTR, and Surge. And the yield is paid daily, but it's adjusted weekly. I think that's going to be probably one of the things that have to get explained the most is going to be the yield part of things, because I think that's going to confuse people. But you essentially get a daily yield, and that interest rate is adjusted every Monday. And it's adjusted based on the Tesla Oracle price. So that's going to be a whole thing to learn. But we'll see how it progresses. I think you guys are going to find it fascinating. I was reading the doc, and I think it's really cool. So let's see how fast LeoStrategy can sell this out. I'm hoping it's only a few days. I think that would be awesome, because the sooner that tokenized Tesla trades on the open market, the sooner that LeoStrategy starts market making it between base and Hive Engine, and the sooner they start profiting, and then using the profits to buy even more Leo. So we're at the very early stages of this flywheel, but it's starting to heat up. I can see it, I can feel it, and it's awesome to see. So Taskmaster said Tesla has their earnings call tomorrow. That'll be pretty fun. Maybe I'll do a threadcast for that, since now we've got tokenized Tesla. Quick question, because this is a good one, and then I'm going to jump off. Mcoin said, what happens when Tesla splits? That's a really good question. That would be a good question for LeoStrategy. I would imagine that they can choose to either split tokenized Tesla, which would mean basically just issuing tokenized Tesla to all the current holders. So like, let's say that Tesla does a 10-to-1 split, and then they go from $450 a share to $45 a share. And tokenized Tesla, think about it this way: tokenized Tesla is 1/100th of a Tesla share. So they have two options. I think they probably have more than two options, but two obvious options. One would be to do nothing. So tokenized Tesla is trading at $4.50. Tesla was trading at 450. Now Tesla's trading at 45. Well, now tokenized Tesla could just represent 1/10th of Tesla rather than 1/100th. I mean, that is a policy-driven peg, right? So it can just be. You could literally just do nothing if there's a split. So the do nothing approach would probably be the best one. The other approach would be that you could actually just issue tokenized Tesla. So basically, if they do a 10-to-1 split, you can issue 10 times that amount of shares to all the existing TTSLA shareholders. Excuse me. And the price of tokenized Tesla would go from $4.50 to 45 cents. And just had like a total brain fart moment. 45 cents, and all the share, but any token holders now have 10 times the amount of tokens. So I guess there's kind of a do nothing approach or a split with Tesla approach. I think probably the do nothing approach works just fine. So D-Kid said to sell Tesla to move over to tokenized Tesla will make me pay capital gains. I'll have to think on that. Yeah, I mean, there's probably a way to structure it so that I don't know what your average price in, but you could probably harvest a loss on it. But yeah, I mean, that it's going to be different for everybody, you know? Yeah, it's, or you could get, if you want more Tesla exposure, you know, keep your regular Tesla, and then just get a little bit, but we'll see. Task said many optimistic Tesla fanboys say we'll see $1,000 Tesla in 2026. Yeah, I think 2026 or 2027. I think 2027 is probably a guarantee. I mean, unless we hit some major recession. But yeah, I think it's just going to keep, in my opinion, tokenized Tesla. Tokenized Tesla. In my opinion, Tesla shares are going to hit $1,000 by 2027 for sure. It's pretty much a certainty. I am a Tesla fanboy, though. Like I said, it's my number one stock holding, you know, in TradFi, and it's going to be one of my biggest crypto holdings now that I can buy tokenized Tesla and earn yield on it. So I'm really excited to be able to own exposure to an asset that I love, which is Tesla, and earn yield on it. So that is life changing for a lot of people, and you know, I think it could be life changing for me if one day there's, you know, 10 different assets from LeoStrategy that I can buy. Kind of ditch my TradFi portfolio and own everything as tokenized shares and earn yield on them, that I can then live off the yield rather than, you know, having to sell shares in order to survive. LeoStrategy is bringing abundance to everybody. I mean, if you're it's like I said, if you're a Leo holder, you benefit. If you're an LSTR holder, you benefit. If you're a Surge holder, you benefit. If you're a TTSLA holder, you benefit. It's amazing. They really are just bringing abundance across the board. And by the way, the LP rewards for providing liquidity for Surge, LSTR, and Leo are enormous. They're like 300% APR. And the way that's being achieved is completely sustainable. LeoStrategy basically set their market makers to be hyper aggressive, which means that they're still earning a profit, but they're just trading a lot more frequently, which causes more price dislocation, which then leads to more fees for LPs. So it's completely sustainable, and basically their market makers are just paying LPs, but they're paying LPs with some of the profits from market making. So pretty amazing. I'm excited to see how that progresses too. It's like I said, there's just so much happening. I didn't even have time to get into the Leo Dex updates, but my voice is starting to hurt. So I will have to update you guys on the Leo Dex stuff next week. We've got a lot in the pipeline. Obviously, TTSLA is just live as of today. We've been doing a bunch of bug fixes for Leo Dex. There's some new features coming in the next week or two that I think you guys are going to be excited about. But right now, we've been in like hardcore, infrastructure and just making things better mode before we get to the next features. So really cool stuff. I will leave you guys with the link to tokenized Tesla on Leo Dex, and that will be my final goodbye. Here's the link. Actually, I'm not going to do a screenshot. There's the link. Go click the link if you want to see. I won't give you the teaser screenshot. Look out for the blog post announcing tokenized Tesla and how it works from LeoStrategy. They said they'll post it sometime after this AMA. So have fun. Always remember, it's not financial advice. It's just financial entertainment. I